It is indeed a real privilege for us to have the Murrays from South Africa this morning. They have already shared in a class prior to chapel, and they have with them a projector with slides, and that bulb on the projector burned out, so Brother Murray was not able to share with us in the last class the slides that he had. So he and his wife are coming to our next class right after chapel. If you have a free class, or if you are in Introduction to Russian Language and Culture, please come, and they'll now have the opportunity to share their slides with us there. Brother Avery found, what did I hear you say, 160 of those little bulbs somewhere? And I saw him hand Brother Murray at least 2 of them. So we're going to be able to get those slides done in the next class, and I want to invite you to come there. But right now, Brother and Sister Murray are coming to share the burden of their heart for South Africa. And it's a real privilege this morning to welcome them to our platform.
Well, the first Bible school I've ever been to, I think it was in 1992, was to God's Bible School. And since that day, this place has just got an atmosphere around that when I look at these windows and the things written above the windows, it comes little chills down my spine to think of the godliness that came through this place. And I heard about great men of God that's been here and is still here today. It's a wonderful privilege to be here, especially in America. Your country is very nice and clean and organized. Sometimes we are not so well organized in Africa, and so we just see the things. There's just a few problems that I experience coming over to your country here. I just left summer there and find winter here. I don't know what you guys do wrong here. When I left my country, it was nice and warm. Yeah, we are in the southern hemisphere, and that's why when your summer is here, it's winter with us and the other way around. Also, your sun sits in the wrong side of the hemisphere, and it makes me to be confused. So the other day, I went off the highway and buy gas, and when I went back on the highway, I went back the way I came from, because south and north is mixed. Our sun will always sit on the northern side of the hemisphere, because we look from the south up to the equator, and you look down or the other way. But I also got another problem. When I walk up to your cars, the steering wheel sits on the wrong side of the car, and I walked to the wrong door and found somebody's taken the steering wheel, you know. And in my country, I change gears with the left hand, and every time I get into the car, I put the blinker into gear, you know. But God has got mercy on us, and we are standing here this morning in His mercy and because of His mercy. And when we tell you a little bit about what we do, just before I want to continue, just ask the president here, how much time do we have? 10:30. 10:30. Right, I thought so. Well, the first thing is that we try in our mission work not to get so involved in mission work that we lose the vision. And the vision is not that we see many, many thousands of souls of people being saved. It's a hard place that we work in sometimes, a lot of superstition, a lot of witchcraft, and things like that, and other problems, wars and upheavals and things like that. Not in South Africa. We work right up into Zambia at this stage, but we always got a message for dying and hopeless people. And that message, we want to stay so near Jesus that it keeps on burning inside. Like old Jeremiah would say, even if I keep my mouth shut, it will burn out somewhere. And that's what we want. I think as mission students and as pastors' wives and children workers and everybody that sits here today, if we're going to do something because we need to do it, then it's going to be difficult. But when we do it, when it's a passion inside our hearts to go and tell them about Jesus, we some days run up to people and want to say, stop, just listen, there is hope. I will later tell you more about what we do with Bible work and Bible distribution work in the northern parts of southern Africa, up to Zambia. But I want to tell you just this one thing of being good to be a missionary, to have hope with you, to have the knowledge with you that Jesus can sanctify and that Jesus can save fully and that Jesus can help in times of despair. I had the privilege of, we took Bibles into Angola, and that was a time when Angola had war for nearly 30 years. We couldn't go in there legally because the government there is a communist government, and the rebels was the pro-Christian group. And they came to fetch us with the Bibles at the river, and they took us over the river. There was no bridge. They took us over with one of their war boats, and then took us to their headquarters, where we delivered the Bibles to their church that was locally there at their headquarters. And from there, they distributed it to other churches. But I had the privilege of preaching there that morning. And while at that stage, the rebel army started to lose the war. And they were very much down. And many of the people sitting in that church that day, I estimate 300 or more people that sat there, were maimed by the war. So many came to me. I could see one arm was gone, one leg is gone. I could see some were blind, landmines and all the things that happened to them in the war. But that morning, when they sing, the songs was sad. And they sang so beautifully. I tell you, it's amazing how problems can burn shallowness away. That morning, I could feel the despair in their hearts. And God really helped us, and we preached to them a message that even if you have lost everything on this life, and you have Jesus, you still have everything. And so I told them about Hudson Taylor, that tell the story while he was in his room. While he was very sick, he lost his wife, and his children had to go back home because they had nobody to care for them. And he said, Jesus, I feel so lonely today. I'm in this room, I'm sick, but I'm so lonely. And you have promised that those that need water, you will give them water so that they thirst no more. He says, and I'm thirsty this morning. He says, and the presence of Jesus came so close to him that he says, my wife that was in heaven wasn't nearer to God than I was. And I told them that story that morning. And then after the service, we stood outside the door, and everybody came and greeted us. And they walked past me, and about everyone said, thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, that morning I was so happy to be a missionary. I was so happy that God took me there. So when I tell you this, I'm going to give my wife an opportunity now to tell what she's doing in the children's work, because it's mainly their responsibility, she and Johan and Essie van der Merwe. But I will give her an opportunity to come and say a few things about what they do. But it's worthwhile being a missionary and have a fire burning in your heart. God bless. I'll see you now.
Well, it is good to be here, and we thank Brother Avery and also you for allowing us to say a few words of what we do there in South Africa and Lesotho. It's also very good to see our kiddie kids here. Do you know who they are? They are the ones that visited us on the field, and it is so good to see you still here, and we hope you will come back to South Africa one day. We also want to thank America that are so open for the work of God, for mission work. They are also part of us because they support us, they pray for us, they help us, so that it's possible for us to do the work there. I just want to tell you a little bit about the children's ministry there in Africa. You know, the children over there are so many. And it is a very, very special ministry because we believe that if we can reach those little children while they are young and teach them about Jesus and about his salvation so that they can get saved, we will save them from dying from AIDS. The young people in Africa are daily, hundreds of them are dying of AIDS. And we really have to concentrate on the children. Even the ones that are very small are coming to church, and we have to do that. And I can tell you, the parents over there that are unsafe, they really neglect their children. They believe a child is not really something because they feel not to give them that much of attention and love when they are still small. And we feel so sorry for them. It is so good to see when they are in church and you work with them and you touch them. They are not used to that. And you talk to them, how much they open up and start to love us and believe what we say. So there is a lot of work. The ones that has been there before can tell you they have done a wonderful work there. We are going to schools, we teach there, and on Sundays we take them to church, different services. We pick them up on the farms every day, a Sunday morning with our pickups, and take them to the service. We teach them, preach to them. Then we bring them back to our house and give them candy sometimes, and we give them cookies and cool drink. And they stay there for a while, and then we take them to the afternoon service, just to keep them away from the streets, because they are so much influenced by their parents' bad habits and the way they live. So it is just a wonderful open door there in Africa. And we really want to trust the Lord that people from God's Bible School will come to Africa one day. We already have people there that are missionaries that work with us. They were on teams there, and they got to the field, and today we have some of them as missionaries. We also have a clinic in Lesotho. It is at the mission station where Glenn and Stephanie Gold lives. There is also a lot of work to be done. We need nurses for the clinic. We need people to be in charge of the clinic. There is a house where they can live. And we trust that God will one day send nurses. We can really put you all to work. We are planning to start an orphanage in Lesotho because of the AIDS, and so many parents are dying. There are so many orphans, and you can just think what the possibility is to reach out to these children. And we can use teachers, we can use children workers, we can use nurses. Every kind of training that you get here will fit in with our work. There's also a lot of administration that you can help us with. We send out 3 newsletters. The one is for America, and the one is for our country, and because we speak Afrikaans, we send it out in Afrikaans too. And then we send our Bible studies to the northern parts of northern part where we work with the Bible and literature distribution. And we also translate tracts. If we go up to the northern part of the work, we give them good English tracts, and then we look for a good English-speaking person, like a principal of a school or a teacher, and then we ask them to translate it into their languages, because there's so many different languages, and some of them do not even have much to read in their own languages. Then they send it back to us, the translated ones, written in their handwriting, and we type it, send it back to them to be corrected. And when it comes back and being corrected, we send it to the printers. And when we go up north, every year in our winter time, God helped us already to give out some of those tracts. So, as you have seen, we also receive teams almost every year. We receive a team here from America, even more than one a year. And we are so glad of that, because then we will show you exactly what we do and what mission work is. And we pray that God will help you. You know, we know many Christians that still today say they are not in the work of the Lord because God hath not shown them. They still wait on God. But we believe if you start to do something for the Lord, God will open up a door immediately or just after a while. And that is really true. And we pray that God will use you and open the doors. Thank you.
Thank you, Esther. Well, I'll have to run through. I want to tell you some of the the nice things that's the nearest to my heart, and that is the literature work, especially the Bible work. But we in South Africa, we have at the moment Len and Stephanie Galt that is overseeing the work in Lesotho. There's 12 churches in Lesotho, a thriving holiness church with good pastors. They are really doing a great job. It's people that's got only one thing on their heart, is to take out the gospel. It's a very good place for a missionary to go and start, because you've got all this assistance from the national people there. It's really an indigenous church, wonderful Christians. It's a very, very poor country, and the work of the missionaries is to just support with infrastructure. We've built quite a few churches there, and we need 4 churches at the moment to be built. We don't know when we're going to start. We are sad to say we fell behind, but also we need money to do these things. We normally try to supply the materials, and the national people and us together are providing the labor free, so we don't need to hire people to build the churches. But that's the work in Lesotho. Then my wife and myself and Philip Guys, do you know Philip Guys? He lives in South Africa with us. He does not lives near us in the nearest town, where he oversees places there. Philip has already built one church there, a very handy, young, talented man. And then he bought another church from another Dutch Reformed church there. The people on the mission board has been very kind to us, sold us a very big building for $5,000. We are so thankful that God has really been so good to us. And so there's 5 congregations in South Africa. And then in most of these places, our biggest job is to help these Christians to grow spiritually, to train the pastors. I've explained in the mission class this morning our method of doing that. I don't want to spend a lot of time on there, but that's why we need trained Bible school missionaries. Many missionaries applied in the past to come and be with us there in Lesotho, but we always had to turn them down because we wanted trained people, like coming from a Bible school, because we've got to train the national people. It's very hard to do training there because we cannot read and write their language. So even if you have a Bible school there, you cannot say to the people, okay, write this exam and then bring in your papers, and then I will mark the papers, and then once the papers are marked, I cannot read what they wrote, and so I don't know what they said, and so I cannot mark it through an interpreter. And that's why we do a lot of training. It takes longer, some up to 8 years, where we do in-job training and repeat many of the subjects over and over. But there's a lot of work to be done in that area. Then Africa is dying at the moment in many places because of AIDS. My wife mentioned it a little bit. I just want, before I continue, just to tell you that AIDS is only dangerous for people that live immoral lives. It's proven over in Africa that you cannot get AIDS from using cups or spoons or anything that was used by somebody that has AIDS. AIDS is a very weak virus. Once it's out of the body, it dies about immediately. It's a fortunate thing. Otherwise, I don't think I would have been standing here today. And we have never got any information, because in the village where in the town where we live, we're about 10,000 people. And it's not funny to see 15 people a week die that they need to bury. And we would have known if there was any other reasons. People ask, what about mosquitoes? No, you can't get AIDS through mosquitoes, because a mosquito has put out some sort of saliva through its little spout to prevent the clotting of your blood, and that kills the AIDS virus. That's a fortunate thing. Now, nobody ever got AIDS through mosquitoes. When people trace their history back, it's always immoral living or blood transfusions. The blood is also being handled very carefully in our country because they know that. That's just to comfort you, because I know many mothers and many people and say, oh my, I can't go to a place like that. The reason why I tell you about this AIDS is because that became an urgent drive in our hearts with our Christian literature campaigns that we have. Because we realized that many people will die before we can ever plant a church near them. And it's very sad to say that we need helpers and people with, because our standards are holiness, and because our not outside standards only, but the inside standards of people faithfully serving the Lord. It's very difficult for us to use South Africans. We got Johan and Hessie van der Merwe. The teams know them, godly people that are working with us. They are farmers. They are HIM missionaries like us. And they do a great job. While we're here in the States, they got to keep the things going there. Their whole families do. Johan is a very good preacher. He can speak the local language, the Sotho language, fluently, and he's doing a great job. But we need to give some people a brush with Christianity, some way or the other. There are many people that die at the moment in the villages near us where there's no Christian to go and pray for them. It's sad. If somebody will have cancer here in America, by the time, even they are unsaved, or even if they come people that are not going to church, there will be literally hundreds of people visiting that person. I know how it is in my communities. You know, there will be somebody going there to tell them about Jesus. But there where we live, there are many people that die without hope. The deaths are just so many that they would not find somebody to go and pray for them and comfort them. And that's why we feel that in certain nations, especially like the Mbukushu, they're not a very big nation, but where they live in the northern part of Namibia, as far as I know, there's only one fairly a big church in that area. And it's a one church for a whole nation is terrible. There's small little other churches. I'm not saying there's only one church, but there's only one proper church that I know about. And we've been working through that area many, many times. A neglected nation. So those are the ones that my wife helps at the moment to translate tracts into their languages. But the biggest problem we found in the African bush is the lack of Bibles. And the Muslims come in and they just give their Quran free to the people. They build the people schools. They build them universities. In every little town in South Africa, there is a Muslim mosque. We just got to spare money and save money and just do everything we can to build a church. But they just come in and they use contractors to build their mosques. I know about the contractor. I know him. It's somebody I know. He just had the contract the other day to build a mosque. And so we must be very careful as Christians that we do not fall so far behind that we're going to lose Africa completely. In the Sudan, the Muslims just come in and kill the Christians by the thousands. They just sent in helicopters, the government there in Sudan. I know a mission organization, Frontline Fellowship, is doing a great job there. But that's our problem. And so we went into the bushes of Africa and we found that everywhere we went, we go from village to village and house to house. In big villages of up to 100 people and even more, we could never find more than 2 Bibles. There's areas where we work now in, where we go in, where the pastor of the church doesn't even own his own Bible. I knew a personal friend of mine that's in the bush there. He's a pastor of the church. He was sort of a assistant pastor. But when he had to preach, he had to go and borrow a Bible, and then once he finished on Sunday with the service, he had to give the Bible back. I was so privileged to give him his first personal Bible in his language, Lozi. So we found that the whole problem of Bibles is right through the southern part of Africa. And 6 years ago, we've started to have Bibles printed. We raised money to have these Bibles printed. And we've been working ever since. Every winter months, we go up north for a month, and this last year we went up twice, and this coming year the Bible Society has really caught up with the vision, and Glenn and Stephanie Galt is going to become part of the Bible Society staff, unpaid staff, so that they know what is in the organization going on in Namibia, the Bible Society of Namibia. But our budget, just for the subsidies on the Bible, we subsidize a Bible with nearly, if we take the transport in account, I think about 60% or more. And our budget is this year more than $10,000, American dollar, not South African rand, just for the subsidies on the Bible. And it's very hard work. We travel into areas where you can't travel faster than about 60 to 100 miles a day. it's interesting things that happen there. I wish I had time to tell you all the miracles, but I just want to tell you a little bit about the need that people have there. They tell us Bibles are unknown objects, and that's what one man wrote me, a letter. And then when they find these Bibles, we have seen so many people kissing the Bibles. We have seen people, the joy on their faces when they receive their own Bible, personal Bible. But what really touched my heart one day was that a young man, as we go into the bushes, we run from house to house. One vehicle would run in the middle of a sand road. There's just sand, sand, sand. The people will just see in the slides coming now that the Highway 70 in Angola is just 2 tracks in the sand. It's a road that goes from east to west, and just 2 roads in the sand. And then they run next to the roads. Fortunately, the people live a lot next to the roads. From house to house, giving out the tracts. We normally give out up to 15,000 tracts every winter. And in English, there's a lot of people that can read English. We also take and sell special books that's made by Brother Joe Taylor with us at HIM. And then we sell the Bibles to people. If they say to us, we've got only so much and we really want a Bible, we say, give what you have. If we find a Christian that needs a Bible, we ask his testimony, and if he's really saved, we would donate him a Bible. But on the other hand, we try to sell the Bibles. It's not always so easy. The money of those countries are worthless. And then once we've got, I sometimes sit in Zambia with 14 million kwachas. 5,000 kwachas is about worth $1. So they don't even have coins. It's just a stack. I wish I can tell you all the little stories about that money business of this. How do you, one tank of diesel is 650,000 kwachas for a tank of diesel. How do you count that money when you put in your gas, one tank of gas? But this young man was chasing us on his bicycle, and he was just running just chasing us in the sand. And whenever he came near us, we moved on again. And whenever he came near us, he moved on again. And then eventually he caught up with us, and he came to my window, and he stood there, and he said to me, "Sir," he says, and the tears, and he was so anxious, you know, he was just standing there in despair, and he looked at me, he says, "Sir, I want a Bible, but I do not have all the money. Will you sell me a Bible?" You know, that moment I just burst out in tears to see how this man wanted the Bible. And I said to him, "My friend, even if you have no money, I would have given you a Bible." That's one of the things that really make us to go in there. I wish I can tell you about the miracles. Just the other day, we had to go through a river. We traveled for about a third of a mile inside the river. It's actually a floodplain. It's part of the Zambezi River. And we didn't know the river was so deep, and we drove behind a bus, and the next moment the water came just over the hood of the vehicle, it splashed up the windscreen. But we kept on driving, and then there's a hole that was so deep, the bus went into that hole, and the backside of the bus disappeared under the water before it came out, and we would have been totally submerged if we have gone in there. Fortunately, we could turn out on the river bank and went on the side of the bank and missed that hole. But we didn't know about that hole, and God has really helped us in there. But the big miracle was that the engine of the truck was lower than the water level, and it did not take in water. If that engine has taken in the water, it would have been completely destroyed there. And so we know God is in this, helping us. There's such a lot of work to be done there. I wish I had time to tell you about everything. But to cut a long story short, there's work to be done. There's a continent that needs you. Come over and help us. God bless you.
We're glad you joined us. God's Bible School and College prepares students for lives of ministry wherever God calls them. This content is possible because of the generous support of friends like you. To support GBSC, visit giving.gbs.edu. Thank you.